Morning, you guys. Morning. Hopefully we'll get a few of you popping in here. I know it's weird to do this on a Tuesday and not, let me move that so it looks like I'm actually looking at you. I know it's weird to do this on a Tuesday and not on a Monday, but yesterday was a little crazy. So I'm glad I did it that way. Because there's no way I would have been able to get on here and not gone into chasing toddlers. So here is what we're talking about today. Mindset and healing. All right. Now we've talked about mindset before, but I kind of want to get into more of the science of it. So you fully understand where we're coming from, or where I'm coming from in terms of using mindset to heal. There's something called 7 pillars of health. Have you heard of this? So the 7 pillars of health talks about each of the categories of our health and well-being. And one of the things that we're going to deep dive into in March with our members in the membership is the 7 pillars of health. Mindset and emotional well-being is these first two, spiritual and emotional. It's the very first two. And the reason why is because mindset is crucial to our health and well-being. It's crucial. All right, so today we're going to start with a few things. Now I put some quotes up, so we're going to start there. And you know me, notes. Keep myself sane and on track, right? Because someone's got to keep me on track. All right. So, have you guys ever said to yourself or to other people that whatever is happening in your world, health-wise, work-wise, life-wise, whatever, that you can't change it because it runs in your family? Or it's inevitable, it's just going to happen that way. I have no control over it. That, stress is just going to kill you because your life is just extremely stressful. You don't think about it, you just start saying, this is just how it is, right? So, when you say things like that, you determine what path you follow. And I'm not saying that everything is not inevitable or that there isn't anything in this world that is inevitable. Some things are just shit. Some things life throws at us is just total, complete crap. And there's nothing we can do about it except cope as best as we can possibly cope. It's one of the more fucked up parts of life. But that in and of itself is definitely inevitable. Does it mean that because we have one shit show moment in life that the rest of our lives are going to be like that? No. If your mindset, if you allow your brain and yourself to go into a place where you think that this moment determines everything, that's where there's an issue. So let's talk agenda and statistics for a minute. So today what we're going to talk about is what mindset actually is, how it affects us, what role genetics play, because I know some of you out there are definitely going with the whole, like, this is part of my family, I don't know what you're talking about, but like, this is just how it is. In my family, everybody does this, this happens to every single family member, blah, 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 blah. I know there's some of you out there saying that. And that might be true for 5 to 10% of you. That's not true for all of us. That's not true for everything in life. There's some things that, genetics plays a key role. But one of the things that they've discovered is your DNA changes and shifts and there's differences in your DNA that are affected by things that happen to you throughout your life. It's been proven. Does your DNA still match up with your family? Well, yeah, sure. But there are modifications and there are changes. And that in and of itself is because that's why we have those DNA tests that can tell us what nutrients we're deficient in and what nutrients we struggle to absorb, metabolize, process, digest, use, the things that our body feels like we are perpetually and chronically deficient in. That's why we have those tests, because that has come about. And, having been in this field for a very long time and going from the place where DNA wasn't even considered, it wasn't even an option. 2003, when I started in this field, it wasn't an option. You couldn't test to figure out a food allergy. You had to do an elimination diet, and you had to eliminate everything. It's why Whole30 came about, because many of us got really tired of putting our clients through hell. If you haven't done a long-term elimination diet like that, it is not fun, and it takes a lot longer than you think. So it's part of the reason, because I've had to do it, it's part of the reason I recommend lab testing as much as I do, because it can eliminate half the time. Sometimes more than half. Sometimes it eliminates questions right away. You run with it and you're off on your own, right? So we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk how it affects us. We're going to talk what role genetics plays in it. And then we're going to talk about what you can do about it. And we are going to talk about By Felicia, but I have a couple of other things for you in addition to that. So now let's talk mindset and how much things play a role in our mindset. This is the part I have been dying to say for a very long time. And when I've come on in the past and we talk mindset, I always forget to mention this part. And it gets in your brain. It's so effective in helping you really work on your mindset and understand what role your conscious plays versus your subconscious. All right, so here's your stats for the day. 5 to 10%, like I just mentioned. That's how much your DNA impacts your mindset. And that 5 to 10% is psychological disorders, illnesses that you have no control over, illnesses that are genetic, that come with your DNA strand, that you have to learn how to manage. Can your mindset help you manage those? Absolutely. But there's only 5 to 10% of those that is outside of your control. 25% is based on womb activity. What happened when whoever birthed you was pregnant. So birth mama, however you say that, because I think there's like 50 million ways. A lot of times that actually comes down to like drug activity, poor health, drinking, smoking, things like that really impact the health of a fetus. Now that leaves 65 to 70%. It's all you. It's all you. It's all, that 65 to 70% is environment. It's what you put in your body. It's how you treat your body. It's how you treat yourself. And how you allow the rest of the world to treat you. So when you're looking at mindset, the minute those phrases come into your head of, I have no control over it, pull out these stats. Because according to science, you are in charge of 65 to 70% of your mindset. Pretty significant. All right, so let's talk what mindset actually is. Okay. Now, I wrote down the definition because I wanted to make sure to actually give you the definition, like the real definition, not my interpretation of the definition. So, your mindset is a way of thinking your beliefs that shape how you view situations and the world around you. It forms your responses and your interpretations. And according to actually multiple studies, I believe the guy's name was Dweck. It's O'Keefe, Dweck, and Walton. They found that, and I mean, they're not the only ones, but they found that our mindset, and whether it is in a growth or fix, which we'll talk about in a second, it's crucial to overcoming and coping with the most traumatic of life situations. It's critical. And I tend to come back to it a lot. And the biggest reason I always come back to mindset is because when all of a sudden you start getting sick, for those of you who have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, you know how this works. All of a sudden, you start eating normal foods. Nothing's changed. You're eating the same stuff you've been eating, but instead, now you're getting sick. And sick is different. For some of us, it's stomach cramping, it's nausea, it's just this uneasiness. It can be headaches, it can be like, look, I think I have little acne spots. But I had a couple bites of a chocolate chip cookie that was like a cookie cake for me this weekend, and I was gonna eat the freaking cookie cake, but I only had a couple bites. So, but still, it's gonna affect me. And these things start getting worse and worse. And for some people, it's overnight. All of a sudden, you have flu-like symptoms that last for durations. We're talking over a week, and they're not attributed. You're going to the doctor, and the doctor's saying, well, it's not the flu, it's not this, it's not that. They're doing lab testing, and a lot of times, and now it's gotten a lot better. Before, several years ago, it was pretty bad because trying to get someone to believe that there was an autoimmune dysfunction that occurred because the adrenals were overworked because of chronic stress, that took a while to get to. And autoimmune disorders, the diagnosis, it wasn't very popular. Many doctors didn't want to go there. And when they finally decided, the bulk of contemporary medical community decided that they have to address it. People are getting sick left and right. And a lot of the solution and the resolution for autoimmune disorders comes directly down to your foundation, your activity, but more than anything, what you're putting in your mouth. Some disorders and some illnesses actually need prescription medications on top of that healthy anti-inflammatory lifestyle. But your mindset in going through all of that takes a hit. It's horrible because when you're sick, you can't think. Your brain's all foggy. When I get sick, it's happened a lot this year because of the boys being in school, but Brian has not seen me sick very often. So when I do get sick, he doesn't know what to do because I haven't been sick enough for him to know innately this is what you do, this is how you do it, right? All the holistic stuff that I have up here, he doesn't know, right? Hi, Yo-Yo. He doesn't know any of that. It's not, for him, he's like, oh, you have a cough, let me go get your cough medicine. I have honey. You guys saw, I have honey. Obviously, I'm running through honey like it's going out of style, but we have honey, we have lemon, we have hot water. I don't need cough syrup. I need this. We have bourbon, we have whiskey, we have spiced rum. I usually do my hot toddies and spiced rum because I'm not a whiskey fan. Bourbon really depends on my mood. But if I can't think because I'm sick to tell him what I need, can you imagine how that feels? And for those of you who have gone through this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I focus so hardcore on mindset, because the people around us don't necessarily get to see what's going on in our head. And when we're sick a lot, when we don't know what's happening, we don't know how things are going to go. We don't know if, are we going to live? Is it cancer? Is it an immune condition? Is it something unheard of? There's like weird, unique viruses and bacteria out there that can kill us. Is it that? Is it this? I mean, Dr. Google is like the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to us, because you Google common cold symptoms. And if you haven't done this yet, oh my gosh, okay, do it when you're in a good mood. Don't do it when you're sick. But you Google cold symptoms, and the things that pop up, oh my God. So our mindset, when we go through the shift between being sick and diagnosis and trying to figure out what the hell's going on and revamping our health, that whole health transformation from, not really having a direction, not really understanding it, to where we understand our health, we have a path, we have a practice and habits now in place that are going to help us live a healthy lifestyle. And for me, what that means is that I can keep up with the kids. I can do the things I want to do. And will my body go to the size that my body feels it should? Absolutely. Everybody's does. You lose weight. You drop fat. Body fat that your body now knows it doesn't need because it's being fueled well. It is not being fed the things that it knows is harmful. Okay? And in doing all of that, it's helping your mindset, right? We've talked about this before, where our diet helps our mindset. But understanding that your mindset is really just, when we say that word, it's just a way of thinking. It's a way, it describes the way that you view the world, the way that you view a situation, interpret it, and understand how to respond to it. Okay? How does that affect us? And we're going to go a little off tangent and away from diet at this point. Okay? Our mindset can help determine, it's a significant factor in determining success and failure. Okay? There are two different types of mindset. There's fixed and there's growth. Fixed is where you're thinking, just like our first statements, fixed is, this is how it is, nothing's going to change. And it can mean negative as well as positive. It could mean you believe, no matter what, that you are going to succeed in XXS because this is how it is. This is how it's always been. This is how it's going to be. Okay? A growth mindset is where you don't believe that things are just going to be the way that they are. You believe that you are always learning, you are always growing, that persistence, that determination, even though we all might not be Albert Einsteins, we have the ability to become Albert Einstein. Does that make sense? So if we apply this to life, you go through your childhood, you grow up, there's a couple of factors that kind of come into play as kids that impact us as adults. Can we change it? Yes and no. If we acknowledge it and we understand it's there, then when it rears its ugly head, we can squelch it. basically. So praising and labeling, all right? And I'm going to talk about dogs for a minute because I understand training dogs way more than I understand the kids. And yes, I know I have toddlers, but this is definitely a learning experience for me because I'm not a teacher. I specifically avoided learning anything in the kid area because, you know, outside of my own, being in a group of children kind of freaks me out a lot. So I'm getting better, I promise. I think it has more to do with interacting with them and understanding them. And connecting with kids is not something that naturally happens for me. So, you know, as you praise dogs, right? You get a puppy, you praise them, you train them with praise. Now you have this happy-go-lucky dog. They listen, they understand where the limitations are. But what if you adopted this puppy and instead of labeling that puppy as just a puppy that needs to be taught, now you've labeled that puppy as a dangerous breed. And you treat it as a dangerous breed. You train it as though it's a dangerous breed. Even if you train it with praise, the way you treat that animal determines how it's going to view itself growing up. With us, it's very similar. If we are given labels as children and those labels stick with us, here's an example. You guys have noticed, some of you might have noticed, I started using Be Wild a lot. That was my nickname growing up. Is there any question at this point when we look at labeling why I was a wild child? You gave me this nickname, and yes, it's part of my actual name, but like, and it's a cool nickname to have, don't get me wrong, but you know, think about that. You label a dog as a good breed, a dog that is trainable, that has good manners, that just naturally is wonderful with kids, and and if you treat them as such, then they're going to act as such because in their eyes, you've taught them that's how they should see themselves. We don't really have a lot of control in what we are told as children. We don't have a lot of control as adults, but as adults, we can look at other adults and just basically say, go fuck off. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Your statements about me don't apply because you are not a good person in my life. So, bye-bye. Peace out. As an adult, when you are working on mindset, you have the option of labeling yourself, of praising yourself. But if you're going to go to the extent of labeling yourself, I highly recommend labeling yourself as someone who loves to learn, likes to grow, wants to be healthy, loves whatever activities you love, things like that, okay? Praise yourself. Even if you get praise from everybody else, praise yourself. You know how I talked to you guys about Mel Robbins, her high five, right? Go high five yourself in the mirror every morning. Take a minute to look at yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. You're beautiful. You're one of a kind. You are unique. You are the best you there was ever on this planet. Get so egotistical when you talk to yourself because that is fuel for your mindset. Just like we use food to fuel the functions in our body, you can actually fuel your mindset. You could go the 87 route, or you can go the 93 route. High-end sports cars, high-end cars, like my Armada, has to have 93. I think in some parts of the country it's actually still 91, but here in Texas it's 93, and in Maryland it's 93. So if we're using cars as an example, when you talk to yourself in the mirror, talk to yourself like you're a high-end sports car. You need the shit gas, the stuff that is so high end, your engines are purring, you are taking the corners like they're nothing, right? Just whizzing through life. If you haven't done that in a sports car, I highly recommend it. I have moments where I really miss my Eclipse. So praise yourself. Get your sports car mindset going. You deserve it. Every one of us has the possibility to be the best us we can be, right? You can be the best you can be. You have control. Remember, 65 to 70% of your mindset is in your hands. That is over 50%. If we were in a company that had a board, okay, had stock owners, and you were one of the stock owners of you, your vote is the only one that counts. None of the others count. Do they play a role? Yeah. Do they have an impact? Sure. 30 to 40%. Or 25 to 35? Well, 30 to 35. There we go. I'm not very good at math, you guys. Whew. 30 to 35%. So that means you are primary stockholder of you. You rule. You decide where you want to go. You decide how your brain thinks. Now, it's hard to go from, okay, I am in charge, to, now what? Are you there yet? All right. So we touched a little bit on DNA, right? And how much DNA plays a role. Here's some things that we are going to use to overcome DNA, overcome anything that happened to us when we were a fetus. We're gonna do that. Now, considering the fact none of us were born in a tube and grown in a science factory or a science lab, we all came from some woman's womb, right? So this is the case for all of us. There's a couple of things that you can do. So here's your 4-step process. 4? Nope, 5. Sorry. I added a few to these. All right. Focus on your journey. If you can't focus on an end, if you can't see an end, right? Visually, you see this end, but you're not really seeing the end. My computer's on. For some reason, Facebook wouldn't allow me to just do it with my phone versus, anyway. So my computer's on. So if you cannot focus on the end result, if you can't visually see yourself in this place, like I saw something on Facebook yesterday, and a woman posted it up, and she's a success coach. Okay, just to give you a little background, she's a success coach, and what she said was, "You are a rich bitch," and that was supposed to be the mantra that we said for the day. What if you can't see yourself there? What if visually you can't see yourself in a healthier body, a thinner body, being able to walk and run if that's what you want to do, dance all night, have the energy to make it through the day without face planting at the end of the day, getting through that 3 o'clock slump and having forgotten there was even a 3 o'clock slump. You know, if these are things that you can't visually see about yourself, then focus on the journey. Because if you focus on just that next step, right? This step will take me here. This step will take me here. Eventually, those steps take you to that end result, right? And eventually you see yourself in that end result. So if you cannot see yourself at the end of whatever you want to achieve, however you want to end a challenge, or, you know, a life transformation, health transformation, that's what we talk about here is health transformation. If you can't see yourself at the end, right, at achievement, then shift over to just focusing on the journey. Focus on the next step. It's one of the things that I do in a lot of my programs, and it's part of the reason, actually, it's the number one reason why I have the membership. Because some of you, while you need a health transformation desperately, you're not in a place where you're ready for a drastic shift. You know you need to make changes, but getting into, that 6-month program where it's a lot of work for the first 3 months. And there's a deep dive that starts from day one, and actually starts before that because I give you some pre-work. It starts the day you sign up. And some of you just aren't there yet. There are some of you out there who you are on it, you're ready, you see it, get me in, get me out. Hence why we have that 6 week. But for those of you who do need to focus on the journey, not when you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, whatever you want that result to be, that's why there's a membership. Because you're taking it slow. And whether you hop into a program or you do this on your own, sometimes you need to focus on the journey. Okay? If this is something that is a challenge for you, or focusing on the journey is a challenge for you, dial it back. What do you need to do to get to this step? Mini steps, baby steps. It's fine. You have to take the healthiest path for you, and the only person that understands what that path is you. All right, so focusing on the journey versus your end results, dials it back, keeps it simple, keeps it, keep it simple, stupid. You guys have heard that, right? Kiss. Kiss it. All right. Add the word yet. Write down statements of what you want and put yet. So like my example of Facebook. You're a rich bitch. Right? If you turn that around, you have a negative statement. Because that's what this is talking about, is when you can't get those negative statements out of your head, how do you shift it? So I'm not a rich bitch yet. I am not a healthy person yet. I have not stopped feeling sick yet. It's just like the fortune cookie. You get a fortune cookie, you read the fortune, and you're supposed to add in bed at the end. It's the exact same thing. Add yet. Just add yet. Because everything is a journey. Just because today you're not at that end goal doesn't mean you're not gonna get there. It doesn't mean you're not gonna overcome your health issues. It doesn't mean you're not gonna figure out how to eat so it fuels your body, how to eat so that it helps you reduce inflammation, reduce pain, stop hurting, stop suffering, stop feeling sick. It doesn't mean that. It just means you're not there yet. So add yet to your phrases. Any phrase that you can't get a negative connotation out of your head, put the word yet on it. You've shifted it. It's now a positive statement. And you can use that for anything. We talk health here, but you could use it for business. You can use it for school. You can use it like at my office. So I finally have pictures. Yeah, I got pictures up. I finally have paint colors. I finally know what I'm going to do, as far as building things in here and having my desk and all the decor and, things like that. I know finally what I'm going to do. It's going to take me a minute because I'm picky and I like what I like, and we're going to have to build it ourselves because nobody has what I want. So I have a fabulous office. I just don't have it yet. Just add yet. All right. So now another thing that you want to do is stop letting other people's opinions invade your brain. Just because something worked with somebody else does not guarantee that it is going to work for you. If you allow someone to get into your brain and tell you this is the only way to do it, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it, if you allow them to come into your brain to, tell you what they think of you, it's going to impact your mindset. Is it going to sting if what they say hurts? Yeah. But just because someone says something to you doesn't mean it has to live there. It can visit for a very, very, very short time. It can visit. If you are having a time, so energy vampires, do you guys know this phrase? Energy vampires describes the people who come and talk to you and just vomit all the stuff that's in their head, right? They just vent, if you want to call it, whatever, but like everything just comes flowing out at you. It's like a tidal wave, right? Emotions, negativity, sometimes positive, but most times it's negative. They have so much going on. There's this bundle of energy and they're just like, bah, 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 bah. And when they're done talking, they feel amazing. They feel refreshed. They feel like the world is off their shoulders, which it is, because they sent it to you. That's an energy vampire. Because what happens is where they feel better, you have now absorbed it, and it's entered into your mind. It's very hard to get rid of because now you're tired. So here's a trick my sister mentioned this weekend that she had learned. When that happens, when you notice someone needs to vent and they're just spewing information out, one of the female empowerment coaches and Mama Gina, she calls it swamping. When you take a minute to yourself, not to anybody else, to yourself, and you let all of that out, right? So if you need to think about this as someone is swamping you, because, vampires is a bad word in your world, do it. When it happens, hold on to furniture. You hold on to something, and you envision what they're saying coming through you into that furniture, okay? It's not staying in you, remember? It can come visit, it can't stay. It's gotta go. Your stuff needs to take precedence. So, if someone is talking to you and they're venting like that, which it happens to me a lot, some of us are just people that others feel like they can talk to. So it happens. Protect yourself, hold on to something, envision all of it going away. Because the things that come into your brain, if they stay, they skew your perception, okay? So you can be on a high, have a conversation, now all of a sudden you're struggling to overcome, where just an hour before you were just fine. It happens a lot, and especially, given today's day and age and all the stuff we're dealing with COVID, this is going to happen. So when I say stop allowing others to impact you, that's what I'm talking about. Put into place things that will help you let the information come in and let it keep going. Let it keep traveling. You're just a stop. So, and maybe it can take a little bit of positive from you to help it along its journey. And if you need to send it somewhere, hold on to a piece of furniture. Imagine that what the other person is saying, or those negative thoughts, whatever is coming into play. Comparison is part of this. Stop comparing yourself. We're all unique individuals. We all need different things. There is a base of ingredients and nutrients and micronutrients that we absolutely need as human beings. However, our DNA as it stands today, remember we talked about it kind of shifts and changes as we live because we impact it. Our DNA as it stands today determines what we actually need. And what I need is not the same thing as what you need. You need different things than I do. All right? My lifestyle, the way my body has been treated, and let me tell you, I am a daredevil. My poor body has been through a lot. I have put it through a lot. But you might have put your body through more than I have. Your genetics might be different than mine. Your environment might be different than mine. Those all play a role in the nutrients that you need. So comparing yourself to somebody else, it's not realistic. We are all so unique and so different that what works for you, yeah, it might work for somebody down the street, but you have to still modify it slightly so it fits into your lifestyle. It's part of the reason I teach my clients what I do, because I don't believe that there is one solution for all of us. There's a reason there are 50 million books about, the various diet and nutrition programs and weight loss and, do this for weight loss and do that for weight loss and, you get healthier this way or that way. There's a reason those are all successful. And they're all bestsellers. They're coming in, they're coming out. I mean, Atkins is still a thing. It's still popular, and it's still popular because it works for some people, but they've modified it so it works for them. You can't compare yourself. You can't. And you can't take what somebody else says as fact. What somebody else says is their opinion. That's it. I'm going to give you facts when we work together. I'm going to give you my opinion. What I hope and what I insist that my clients do, and what I insist that you guys listening to me now do, is the parts of what I say that align with you, the parts that call to you, the parts that when you listen, you're like, I needed to hear that. Great. Take those. Use them as best you can. And the rest of this, don't worry about it. If you need it in the future, you will hear it again in the future. So comparing yourself and allowing any energy vampires to download into you and holding on to anybody else's stuff, it's not worth it. So the very last one is to challenge yourself. So just to go over, because I talked a lot about the comparing and the energy vampires, you want to focus on your journey, not the end goal. Use yet in your phrases to help shift negative to positive. Replace your negatives with positive. Okay? Ignore everybody else. Let their stuff go in, let it go out, let it travel. Don't let it stay. And don't compare yourself. You are a unicorn. Be the best unicorn you possibly can be. If you want to sparkle, sparkle. You want to go goth, go goth. I don't care, it's you. You get to decide that. And then challenge yourself. The best way to shift into a growth mindset from fixed is to participate in a challenge that's calling to you. Now, March is coming up, so we're going to have some polls up because we need to figure out what to do in March. When you're looking at challenges for yourself, you want to look at something that sounds fun, something that sounds like a challenge that would help you. So every March, and I'm going to put this out there, I don't know how you guys are going to feel about it. I always laugh because I get a variety of responses. Every March up to 2 years ago, when everything shut down, I stopped working. I have done, it's called Sugar-Free March Madness. We eliminate all added sugar. Yes, I know St. Patty's Day is in the middle of it. Some people take that weekend off so they can celebrate and do their thing. Most of us just go sugar-free March. And the biggest reason why I choose March is not because it's the longest day of the month. It's because it's a shift from winter to spring, right? So timing-wise, we're shedding all the stuff that we've been holding on to because we haven't been able to leave the house. It's been cold. If we go outside, we got to bundle up. We can't just walk outside, right? At least for the majority of the U.S., that's the case. Mine's not the only challenge out there. There's like 75 Hard. There's Peloton has a bunch of them. There's challenges all over. I have a trainer friend doing something, I believe it starts in March. That's like your weight loss for women, diet and activity. If anybody wants that link, let me know. I'll send you over to Alta. And what you look at when you look at these challenges is a way to focus on the journey. You see how everything kind of cycles? All right. So a couple of things that you can do. So the whole replacing negative with positive leads to the question, how? Right? That's the problem. So how do I shift from this to this? One of the activities outside of By Felicia, and I'll get to By Felicia in a second, but I wanted that to kind of be the very last thing that we did. If you are a journaler, if you're a writer, and I recommend this for everybody, but if you're not a writer, you're not a writer, okay? You take a gratitude journal, and every day you take at least 5 minutes to write down positive things from the day. Things that happened throughout the day that were positive. And some people do it forever. I recommend between 90 to 120 days. All right? Exercising and diet. So using exercise and diet to shift from negative to positive to help your mind naturally shift, right? Happy foods. We've talked about happy foods in the past. Dark leafy greens, good solid protein sources. So you can go animal proteins, so chicken, salmon, tuna, the white flaky fishes from the sea, things like that. Going plant-based, you have your dark leafy greens, your cruciferous foods. Cruciferous are huge to help you shift your mindset, as are citrus foods and apples. Apples are such a happy food. Oh my gosh, it's such a happy food. All right. So with exercise, shifting negative to positive, it's like a 10 to 15 minute activity. Just do something for 10, 15 minutes. Kick your legs, dance in your chair. You know, if you're in the office or you're at work and you can't get up and go anywhere, you can't get up and go for a walk, dance in your chair. There's a reason chair dancing is a thing. You don't need music, just dance. Some of us need music, but like in reality, you don't need any of that. Just dance in your chair. If you do that, and let's say you work in your typical 9-to-5 corporate position, right? 5 minutes every hour, dance in your chair. And it doesn't have to be a set, here's my 5 minutes to dance in my chair. I mean, that really does make it fun. But to do that throughout your day helps you maintain a more positive, happy outlook, which helps your mindset stay in a growth mindset. All right? If you remember, fixed means you're looking at things and going, this isn't going to change, this is how it is. Positive and negative, this is how it is, this is what the outcome is going to be because this is how it's always been. And growth allows some flexibility. Growth allows you to be persistent, to be determined, to look at it and go, okay, wait, I know I'm halfway through to this goal, but that's not looking so hot anymore. I think I want to change. I want to take this side road. It allows you to do this. It's your life. Sometimes, you know, I've had a few clients where we get halfway through a program and we realize that what we thought at the beginning isn't the case. So we have to change things. It doesn't change the duration that they need me. That's actually been pretty cool, is it doesn't change the duration that they need me. But one of the goals in working with me is to identify what's happening. And sometimes we get halfway through or a quarter of the way through. I've gotten all the way through. And that very final week that we are doing active sessions, we realize that what my client and I thought at the beginning and what we've been working toward isn't the case. And all that work isn't for naught. What we work on helps you determine what's going on with your health. It helps you figure out the best path, the path of least resistance. Okay? The path that allows you to delve into an innately healthy lifestyle without thinking twice about it. When we look at mindset is definitely a primal instinct, okay? Our primal instincts can take over if we allow them to, but we have to allow it. And sometimes the primal instincts are impacted by that tiny little 30-35%, and we need to come in with our 65-70% influence and say, I get where you're coming from, but no, we need to shift it. This is where we're going. That's why journaling, gratitude journal, exercise, stuff like that, that's why those work. A gratitude journal helps you really visually see things really are uplifting in my life. There are positives in my life. This can be a healthy lifestyle because our mindset is one of the 7 pillars, or two of the 7 pillars. And it does have a significant impact on our overall health. Because if we look at our health and we think that we are sick, if we think that that is the only way to be, then that's where our body and our brain are going to go, because it thinks that's where you want to go. It thinks that's what you want to do. So by using things like gratitude journal, you're able to focus on the more positive, uplifting, healthier pathways. So you're shifting those primal instincts and you're just nudging, redirecting. You know, you nudge a little toddler in one direction or the other, you can keep them away from the oven, or you can keep them away from danger. And they don't know any better. All they know is, well, I was heading this way and, oh, wait, ooh, shiny object. Your mind is the same way. So if you use it and you play games with yourself, it's what I call mind games, you can redirect, because what you focus on grows. And that leads us into this by Felicia. Now, I do this 2 different ways, okay? And it started out, it was only one way, but I do this 2 different ways. So the very first way is to draw on one side of the paper, stick figure, whatever, I don't care, rainbows, unicorns, you do you. What you see yourself, your positive self is on one side, okay? Flip the paper over. Your negative self is on the other. Now with the by Felicia, we give our negative self a name. Our positive self is our name, right? Mine is Bonnie, yours is whatever your name is. Your negative self needs a name. It needs a name that you don't like. It needs a name that you look at and you're just like, bye. That's why I call it by Felicia, because that phrase, that movie quote got into my head a long time ago. So my negative self is Felicia, okay? And when she tries to rear her ugly head, I look at her and say, no, bye Felicia. And I hear it in my head exactly the same way they say it in the movie. So when you do this, when you actually do this exercise, make sure you name your negative self something that you are going to be able to easily look at and blow off, okay? Or be so annoyed by that you're just like, whatever, move on, okay? Now, everything negative in your brain that you think about yourself or that you say about yourself, you put on the backside, Okay, you put it on the negative side. You flip that page over. When you're done, set yourself a timer. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Don't live there. Remember? Travel. Travel through. Do not live there. Write everything you can think of down. Flip it over. And what I want you to do is take every one of those negative things and write a positive thing about yourself. And when you get done with that, I want you to take that piece of paper. The negative side goes to the wall, because nobody wants to hear what they have to say. Nobody. If you need to attach it to a mirror, then make sure that you're attaching it to a mirror, and in your head you know that the negative is just bouncing back into the negative and it's staying there. In your head, that negative is staying on that side of the paper. The positive is reflecting and shining on you. Okay? This is something you can repeat over and over and over again. Mandy did a TikTok recently, and I was so proud of her. It is the first time I've seen this exercise used in an applicable place, okay, or moment. I've heard about it. I've heard my clients use these. It's why I do this exercise so much, but I've never actually seen it. So I'll put the link below so everybody can see it. I'll put it in the group. What she did is someone said a lot of really shitty things to her. A lot of shitty things. But she has all these people around her that say all these wonderful things about her. So she wrote the negative, and then she wiped out the negative. She didn't let it live there. She wiped it out. She let it travel on. She replaced it with positive. What that does is it gets the negative junk out of your head. And once the negative junk is gone, you have an empty bucket. So by putting the positives on the page, on the other side of the page, you are filling your bucket, your mind bucket, with all the positive, loving moments, loving things, the helpful hugs, however you want to look at it. You're putting all that positive back in. So you're refilling your bucket with positives. And that helps improve your mindset significantly. So instead of feeling like you just received really shitty news, right? Very traumatic news. And it's the end of the world. You feel like, okay, I'm going to let myself manage this. I'm going to let myself delve in. I'm going to let myself process. But we're not living here because bump, bump, bump. And you go through. And this all happens subconsciously. Okay, this is not something that consciously happens. It tends to happen subconsciously when you put this into practice and you practice long enough. A good practice with gratitude journaling and, an active exercise and focusing on eating those happy foods to help you. A good practice is to put it in place for 3 to 6 weeks. I generally say 90 days to 120 days, but, realistically, you're going to start seeing effects and feeling effects noticeably after a good week or so. And it just gets better and better and better. And after 3 weeks, after 21 days, your brain starts saying, okay, this is a new habit for us, so we're just going to keep going. So then your brain starts helping you by saying, hey, we haven't done this yet. It helps you. All right. Now, with the bye, Felicia, there's one other element, okay? Or one other activity that is closely related, but it's a little bit different. So let's say you have a situation and you've got to process because for whatever reason your brain can't get out of that negative mindset. It's in that fixed negative mindset. You need to get out of it so you can heal and you can move on, okay? You take your journal and on one page, you write everything positive you can think of. On another page, write everything negative you can think of. On the third page, you take all those negatives and you match them up with positive. Okay? And what you write down on that third page is something that is like a mantra. Mantras are basically just, they're like statements for yourself, okay? Prayers for yourself, someone had called it. And the statements that you're going to put on there is a reframing. So you use a positive statement to combat each one of the negative statements you wrote down. Even if they don't match up. If you have more positive than negative, fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. It's wonderful. But with the negative, now that it's out of your brain, you need to take those and reframe it. And the reason we do the positive before the negative is with the positive, you want to look at that not as what's positive right now. So let's say you sit down to write these things down, but you can't think of anything. Think of it like it may not be the way it is right now, but it's the way you want it to be. Okay, so the statements you write on the positive page, it may not necessarily be that that's what is occurring right now or that's how you're thinking right now. It's what you want it to be. Okay, so the positive page is kind of like a wish or brag, like you're bragging that this has happened when in reality, it's what you want to happen. And your negatives, by the time you get to the negatives, your brain is so full of positives that the negatives don't feel so bad, which helps you reframe them on the third page. That's why we do the positive before the negative in that exercise. With the Felicia, you are just letting it all out, letting it all go. Okay? The journaling with the 3 pages is typically related. That's what you're going to use when you have a specific challenge. So let's say you're doing, you've gotten your lab results back and you need to do an elimination diet because you need to wipe out these foods and add them back in to figure out how your body is reacting to them, or to see if whatever autoimmune condition, they're considering is applicable here. If your symptoms get worse, if they get better, how does your body respond to those foods, whether you've used lab or you haven't? Let's say that's the case. This journal activity will help you in the tough times because you get through the first couple days and you're like, I got this, we're good. And then it gets hard. And your brain starts missing things, so it starts giving you cravings for foods that you've decided you can't have. And especially if you're giving up things that you used to eat on a daily basis, it's very difficult to get past that first week. You get past 7 days, you're good. So using tools like the journaling, the gratitude journal, so the daily, using exercise, using nutrition, keeping happy foods around, cut up, ready to just munch to satisfy the cravings, and understanding what those cravings actually are trying to trigger and what they indicate. So like the magnesium, the cravings chart we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Understanding all of that will help you shift everything back, shift all your primal instincts back to, we need to be on this path and we need to stay here to be our best selves and to eliminate the crap that we're dealing with, the illnesses, the reactions, the pain, the suffering. That needs to end. There's no reason you should be suffering. There's no reason you should be in pain. Injuries aside, obviously there's injuries that create chronic pain and there's not a lot we can do about it, but there is something we can do to reduce the inflammation within the body to help manage pain, manage suffering, and minimize it as much as absolutely possible. Your diet is your foundation. Your mindset can help you maintain that healthy foundation. All right, so if you have any questions about your mindset, let me know. These activities really do help you shift from fixed to growth. Improving your health, improving your diet, trying to maintain a healthier diet when it's not something in a healthier practice in your life, when it's not something that's instinctive yet, can feel overwhelming. But if you understand your mindset, where you're coming from, where you started, and the activities and the tools that help you become healthier, that help you stay the path, stay the journey you want to be on, then it helps in all the other avenues of life. It helps in reducing the pain. It helps in reducing the inflammation, because inflammation can be triggered by mindset. It can. If your brain believes that something triggers inflammation, that something triggers a reaction, then it's going to trigger a reaction. If you had a reaction while eating, I don't know, boys get macaroni and cheese and peas and carrots all mixed together. So let's say you had a reaction from that. And you decide, it's not the dairy, it's the peas. Okay? Every single time you see peas, if you haven't looked at it, if you've decided this is what's going to cause a reaction, your brain can trigger a reaction if you allow it to. It's part of the reason that using things like elimination diet and an anti-inflammatory diet and things like eating multiple times a day when that's not your natural tendencies, using those practices, those strategies, it's why they work to get you to a healthier place, because you're eliminating that response. Our brain can trigger things that it thinks should be. Put all your tools in place. Whatever I said today, if there's a tool, if there's an activity or an exercise that spoke to you, start using it, because that means it's something that will help you. If you have questions about any of this, let me know. I know it's a lot of information, but the one thing that we hadn't done with mindset is really delve into the science of it. So I wanted to take a minute and do that. We're going to talk about the pillars of health next week. I wrote it down so I won't forget, because y'all know me, chatterbox. There are 7. Okay. We talked about mindset today in detail. Next week, we're going to gloss over all 7, so that when you look at your health management protocol, your strategies, your practices, the things that are going to be your primal instincts, you can look at all 7, because they do impact each other. And when you see the chart I have for you, it's in a circle, because one applies to the other. All right, so we're going to talk about that next week. And we're going to talk about what each one of them is. It's something that I use religiously because it helps to categorize things. And our brain likes categorization. Our brains are file cabinets. They like categorization. So we'll talk about that next week. If you have questions about this week, let me know. I will chat with you later. And you're welcome, chickadee. Bye, guys. Go be healthy.